I wrote this LinkedIn article a few days ago about this new enterprise, Broken Heart Love Affair. And I did a metaphor about authors who love to pen tales about these people coming together to bring about a desired outcome. They bust the world of ghosts, or this ragamuffin group of people somehow win the World Series or steal the mob's jewelry. Well, this week, in the middle of the coronavirus, where businesses are isolated from the consumers they depend on, where everybody's in a lockdown, this new enterprise, this creative powerhouse, Broken Heart Love Affair, showed up on the scene. And in real life, they are superheroes, each one in their own right is among Canada's most renowned strategic and creative thinkers. And if you follow the advertising world globally, Canada bats way above its weight class and its population in terms of having some of the best storytellers on the planet. So I wanted to interview them in this sort of special edition of Chatter That Matters, and begin by not only saying welcome to Canada with New Enterprise, but my background check on you, and I know most of you personally, you're among the most humble, embarrassed to talk about yourself, superheroes on the planet, and I'm not accepting that. I want each one of you to tell me what your superhero character is and what your powers are that you're going to be bringing to Broken Heart Love Affair. Why don't we start with you, Bev?
Thanks, Tony. We're actually going to give one to each other as much as you said we're humble. In fact, I'm here with a group of very humble geniuses. So I'm going to start with Carlos. And Carlos' superpower is imagination and positivity. He is just all about what's possible and what's best in it. So there's Carlos.
Okay, superpower of the imagination. All right, Carlos, you're going to have to turn it over to someone else then. We're going to go down and play a little musical chairs here.
Yeah. Okay, so it's my turn now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for having us, Tony. I appreciate this a lot. I'm going to do Todd, and I think Todd has many superpowers, but obviously under his amazing collection of caps, there's so much big thinking, big ideas that he brings to the table that just kind of inspires me to be better all the time. And I love that. And I love that he's part of this. I love having him around.
So his superpower is he inspires others with his big ideas.
Exactly.
I love it. Todd, how about you?
I'm going to do Denise. She's got many, many superpowers. It's hard to pick just one. Her ability to
say that because we've been together so long.
Yeah. Her ability to write with heart and humanity is unequaled in my career. I've never seen anyone who can do it so effortlessly and so regularly. But her biggest superpower, I'm going to give you two, is her relentlessness. She does not give up. It doesn't matter. She doesn't believe in barriers. And you just try and stand in her way when she's got an idea that she wants to bring forward. You'll see how relentless she can be.
That's fantastic. Well, Denise, even if you're blushing, you got to tell us who you're going to pick for your.
Well, I was going to pick Todd, but I didn't know Carlos was going to do Todd, so I'm going to do two. I'm going to do Todd as well because I call him in my mind. He's keep calm and dream on.
You're basically hijacking my interview now by doing it.
Yeah, I took. See, well, that's my superpower. Is that you don't know when I'm going to do something, but I'd have to pick Todd too because he's keep calm and dream on for me. Like he's been my partner for so many years, and we've been through everything you can imagine together: marriages, kids, deaths, and he calmly allows us to dream together, which for me is the greatest gift he could have ever given me.
Well, we know you're not talking about him personally because you haven't married him and he's not dead. So it must be he's helping you out in life.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, exactly. So I guess I'm supposed to pick Jay though.
Is that a tough one to pick?
No. Jay is the brilliance of business mixed with creativity, with relentlessness that at times can outdo mine, which is a real interesting match for Jay and I. We will be the last one on the text, fighting for our own point of view, but we always have the same intention.
No, you know what's funny? Like even as I hear you guys talking, it's almost that in our own way, we're all sort of agitators in our own style. And I think that's what makes this kind of an interesting mix, whether it's a business agitation or creative writing, art direction, or strategic. We're all willing to throw a little something spicy into the pot and see what happens, which I kind of like.
If
I
we
want to
can,
build on, let me build on that for a sec. So, you know, if you're a Raptor fan, Spicy P is kind of the person that's taking the ball this year and people feed him, but you're kind of all wanting to take the game ball. How are you going to play together as a team, given that in many cases where you were previously, more often than not, you made the play?
I'll start and you guys can jump in. And I've said this to the guys many times. I think, like the Raptors, I think they have this cohesiveness that they don't really care who has the ball. Even nowadays with Spicy P at the helm, like he doesn't really care whether he is the guy. They just have this amazing desire to win. And I think for us, it's that desire to win, but also we have the right intentions in terms of the kind of work that we want to make and the kind of people we want to bring into a company and the kind of clients we want to work with. And that intention is what kind of makes it feel for me, and you guys can jump in, that it doesn't really matter who has the ball. We're all kind of heading into the same direction, and it's one team. It's almost like we're like a combination of the Raptors starting lineup and the second line, you know?
Good Raptor fan. I like it. Let me go on and ask a question now to whoever wants to take it. The broken heart love affair. I know because I'm behind the scenes. I was chatting with you through a lot of this, but tell the audience why the brand name and why is a brand name so important in terms of the path and the quest that your agency is going to be on.
Well, Tony, every good PR person tells you not to answer the question. So I'm not going to answer the question. I'm going to actually go back and talk about one very important person's superpowers, who's Bev. We skipped over that one, but that seems to be kind of how we operate in text anyway. Bev carries an enormous amount of patience and preparedness and a really strong sense of kindness through it all. You know, we're crazy and we're nonlinear thinkers. We're all over the place. We don't take much seriously. And Bev just sits back and smiles and listens and pays attention and then brings it all back and gives us the platform as well from a preparedness perspective that allows us to kind of create and focus on what we need to do. So that's Bev.
By the way, you're describing George Martin with the Beatles, and they called it the fifth Beatles. That's a pretty high testament. And Bev, I apologize that we didn't get your superpower. I just felt that all the powers of these four were channeling through you. But it turns out that preparation and keeping a lot of stray cats herded are also part of what you do well.
If there's no Bev, there's no broken heart love affair. That's for sure.
So tell me about your brand and why does a brand name matter and how is it going to define the quest you're on?
You know, if I could start, the name actually was inspired by you, Tony. But a year ago when I finally decided that I want to set out on this journey, you were the first person I reached out to because we'd never really had a chance to talk in person. And the one thing that you said to me that stuck out to me is to think about ourselves like a band. And I kind of took that very literally and said, our name needs to sound more like a band. We're in the business of waking people's brains up and getting them to think and ask questions. If our name doesn't do that, then you know, how can we help our clients do the same? So that was the beginning of the journey towards the name. I'll let Carlos kind of take it from there.
Yeah, and you know, when the words first came out of, I think it was Jay's mouth, of the idea of like broken heart love affair, we kind of stripped it back in terms of that emotional journey that any good creative person, any good strategic person, any good account business person that works in marketing and advertising feels. And that's, that moment. And you've seen this, having had experience in our business, where you have an amazing thought and you take it to your client and they kill it. And that kind of breaks us. Like when your heart's really into what you're doing and you really believe in the power of marketing and advertising and communications, it hurts. But at the same time, that pain is what allows our own, creative naiveness to go back to the office and give it another shot and come up with something better and put something on the table that everybody's going to love, not just the clients, but the consumers out there as well. So this tension that we like to play with, the idea of like having our hearts broken because, of setbacks, is what's propelling us forward to continue and create something that people are going to love.
So a tough question for you on that, because I remember in my shift near the end of my tenure in the agency world, the marketers shifted from kind of spending money to investing it. And when they were spending it, they were open to experimentation and creativity. They were willing to take it. They had a higher propensity for risk. And overnight, investing was suddenly, well, how much is that going to cost? And is that idea going to work? And how do I know that? Or maybe we should wait to see what the US is doing, because if it fails, it's their sword they're falling on. How do you define that kind of economics in this industry? Because you're one a love affair again with great ideas, but you need to have somebody on the other side that's going to value them and invest in them, and more importantly, put their shoulder behind them.
I think one thing we were all sending to each other back and forth the last couple months is articles that were coming out that clients were actually starting to see things the way we were starting to see them, which is make sure you spend your money wisely. And I think we all know it as consumers ourselves. It's an emotional connection with brands. We can say that we're choosing things because we're smart or because we've researched, but really you have to emotionally connect with your consumer. And so if you're spending any dollar, even $1, and it's being spent the wrong way or in a way that's not going to emotionally connect, it's kind of a waste of money. And what's interesting is we're reading more and more about brands that are starting to realize this, that they may have swung either not spending enough or spending the wrong way. And I think part of Broken Heart Love Affair to me too was I love certain brands and I will be pretty loyal to those brands because of what they've built and what they stand for. And there's so many great Canadian brands that we're like, oh, if we could just get our hands on those brands to make people fall in love with what they're doing, that's money really well spent, I think.
Yeah.
Let me pivot.
Go, Tony.
I'm just saying, let me pivot on that, because one of the reasons I'm so interested in what you're doing, first of all, jealous, because I can't imagine what it'd be like to be in a room with the talent there, and the fact
No fun. No fun at all.
We versus me is fantastic. But I'm a very passionate Canadian. We're going to come out of this virus. We're going to be held together with duct tape, and Canadian brands are our path forward. I mean, they're the ones where purposeful jobs will be created. I think there's going to be a massive fountain of support for buying Canada, seeing Canada, having a beer at your local Canadian pub. So how can I help, or what do we need to do to make sure that your bandwidth, which I know multinationals are going to be auditioning to work with, that we reserve enough of it so that Made in Canada becomes one of the part of the legacy of Broken Heart Love Affair?
I might start with that one, because I think honestly with this group, Tony, it's a given. This is we believe so much in this country and the brands in this country and what we can be here in Canada. That's why we're here in Toronto and not off in New York trying to do something there. So I think it's a given. That's where we'll start, and then everything else will come later.
Yeah, I think it's funny, like, obviously I wasn't born here, but I spent my formidable years in Canada and being embraced by the culture and its people. That as I've gone through my years and time here, like the amount of innovation that's happening here, I mean, the amount of amazing brands that come out of Montreal, come out of Toronto, out of Vancouver, in retail, technology, there's just so much opportunity. And like Denise was saying, it kind of hurts a little bit sometimes where those brands don't make it to that next level of the emotional connection with the consumer. And I think that shouldn't just be like a thing that Broken Heart Love Affair does. I think anyone in this industry that's working with Canadian brands, that is our goal in terms of making them have that connection with people. And that's like an amazing opportunity for us to kick it off with. Like, that'd be amazing.
We just want to help.
Question for you, if I can. I've heard from my secret sources within your group. In fact, I have a mole at Broken Heart Love Affair. You pen one of the most beautiful letters, and you're reluctant to share it because you think in the middle of this coronavirus, you're talking too much about yourself. I want to be able to post that as part of this my sharing to my network,
Mm.
because it's a kind of emotional letters. I haven't seen it yet. I have a mole, but they're not that generous with what they're sharing at. But from what I believe, it's so beautiful, and I'm hoping you'll share it, because I think a big part of what you need to do is to be a little less concerned about pounding your own chest, because you're not, and be much more about the positive power of when creative and strategic people can come together and wrap a beautiful love affair around a brand, because that just means everything. That means energy. That means people are going to be walking with shining eyes. It means people will be hired. And that's what I think your superpowers collectively will do. So will you share that letter with me?
I feel like I'm in an intervention where the whole gang got together to help.
Absolutely, it's not just one of them, and I won't tell you what mole it was. And I'm not saying if he has tattoos on his arm or not. So.
Oh my God! I was gonna pick the blonde woman.
Yeah, I would have gone with that.
I was going Todd.
See, I've got divide and conquer going. Dissension. George Martin, pull your team back together.
I
She's
don't.
just feeding herself, I think. That's my guess.
Do you mean for me to read the letter?
No, I want you to send it to me, and I want to post it as part of my LinkedIn.
Yes.
And because I want people to read it. And I want people to read it not through the fact that you're trying to tell people about your business, as you can tell by this interview. It's to tell Canada, hey, things are happening and there's great things. I want to end one last thought, and I understand that in the middle of signing shareholder agreements and putting this all together, you put out your first campaign. You did it remotely, which is just incredible reinvention and reimagination. So who's going to tell me a little bit about the client and the campaign? And we'll end the video by showing some samples of it.
Todd is.
Oh, I can tell you a little bit about it. I mean, I think some of us, I was in a different country when this was being pulled together. So to see the way this team took a brief from a client, obviously to address some stuff that's going on in this climate for, can I say the name? Kids Help Phone? Am I allowed to say that? I guess I just said it. You know what? To be honest, I came back and to see what this team had already pulled together so quickly, so effectively. Again, it's like the speed of which we're all planning to work collectively with this group was amazing to see. But it's been hard to pull off because we had to reach out to so many young kids, have them help participate in the campaign. Yeah, it was really impressive to see it kind of come together. But
are we allowed to say the concept?
Yeah.
Yes.
Talk about it.
Tony, it actually came from this. We were all just texting each other, and I was out for a walk in High Park with I have twin 11-year-old boys, and they can't see their friends, and they were on the phone with their friends, and their friend says, why don't we leave each other letters for each other in High Park that we could read? And then I was telling the gang this. Oh, are we out of time?
No.
Close. So just finish.
Did I win something?
Round two.
And the gang kind of just jumped on it by text, and we said, well, why don't we do that for all kids online so that they never feel alone? What if all kids could write to each other, just kind of like in the old days? So instead of kids are really being sometimes painted with cyberbullying, what if we did cyber support? And kids from all over started writing letters to other kids to tell them that they never have to be alone during this. And we hope it's collecting letters from a pandemic for years to come, that people can see how supportive little children were of each other during this time.
What a beautiful thing. First of all, for people listening, getting an insight by just hanging out with your 11-year-olds and seeing something that resonates, turning it into a gorgeous campaign. I'm going to say goodbye now, and I know that Jay is going to work with the editors to tap on a couple examples of that creative, but proud to know all of you. So excited you're there. So excited you're made in Canada. And I can't wait to follow you over the next 25 years. So good for you. Here's to Broken Heart, and here's to your love affair. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Thanks.